friends, welcome back to Cassie Elle Talks. Today we're taking a look at a game coming to Kickstarter soon from Gryphon Games called Isaribi. Isaribi is a pick up and deliver type of game, and it plays 3 to 5 players, lasts 45 minutes to about an hour. In Isaribi, players take their boats out to go fishing and then bring their catch into the market. Players earn money called Rio when they sell their catch to the market, and the player at the end of the game with the most Rio is the winner. The game takes place in the Edo period of Japan, and the art is very expressive of the time period and of the location of the game's story. I thought the game was quite delightful, and I am very happy to share it with you. So let's go a-fishing with Isaribi. Welcome to Isaribi. I have the game prepared for 3 players. Isaribi is played over the course of 5 rounds. During those 5 rounds, each player will, on their turn, have the opportunity to perform different actions using their action points. Once a player has used all of their action points, they will pass turn. Turns will continue on until eventually a player will choose to perform no more actions, and they'll choose to leave the round. Once all players have chosen to leave a round, the end of the round is triggered. At the end of the 5th round, whichever player has the most Rio is the winner. Each player in the beginning of the game is given a boat of the color of their choice and a cube to match. The cubes keep track of the player's Rio on this board here called the treasury board, and at the beginning of the game, each player starts with 3 Rio each. The next area here is called the fishing area. When a player's boat is in a fishing area, they may fish for that card's type of seafood that their boat is on. There are 4 different kinds of seafood that players will fish for: yellow clams, black prawn, blue mackerel, or red sea bream. Each card tells players how many cubes to place on it, and the cubes represent the seafood in that fishing area. When an area runs out of cubes, it means it has run out of seafood, and players will not be able to fish anymore in that area for the rest of the round. The next area is this area here called the Harbour. In the Harbour, players will be able to spend their Rio to perform a number of actions, including increasing the quality of their fishing net when they go fishing, learning special abilities, and increasing their action points. The Harbour is also where a player's boat will need to be in order to sell their seafood cubes to this area here called the market. Each card in the market represents a different market need. In the beginning of the round, only 1 market card is face up. This market card will accept a max of 2 black cubes of prawn and will pay 3 Rio for each cube sold to him. This is the only person looking to buy any seafood right now. Each time the turn gets back to the start player, another card in the market is flipped face up. The amount of market cards increases slowly throughout the game and can be tracked in this area of the board, which also tracks the 5 rounds of the game. The top number up here is the round, and the bottom number is the number of market cards to put out in play. For round 1, you put 5, round 2 and 3, you put 6, and round 4 and 5, you put 7. Before the game begins, each player is given a fishing boat card and 2 ability cubes. 1 cube goes on top of the fishing card to keep track of each player's action points. Every action a player takes in Isaribi has an action point cost. In the beginning of the game, each player starts with 1.5 action points. Players will have the option in the game to pay Rio to increase the number of action points they have. The cube that is placed on the bottom of the card is used to keep track of the quality of your fishing net. In the beginning of the game, each player's net will be able to catch 2 cubes of prawn or mackerel and 1 cube of sea bream when a player goes fishing. The only seafood players cannot use their net for are clams, as clams are fished by hand. Players are also able to spend Rio to increase their net quality. The better the net, the more fish you catch. So we are now at the beginning of the round. All players have their fishing nets, their boats, and they have their 3 Rio. And the first thing to happen is players choose to place their boat in the harbor or on a card in the fishing area. Next, the start player, who has a start player marker, first decides if they want to take their turn or if they want to pass. If they pass, the turn passes to the next player. But if they do take their turn, they can use their action points to do as much as they want or can afford. Some actions can only be done once per turn, but all actions have an action point cost. There are 5 actions that you can do, and these are the 5 actions. First is you can move your boat. If a player chooses to move their boat, it costs 1 action point every time they move it. Players may move their boat as many times as they can afford to or want to on their turn. The next action is fishing. If a player decides to go fishing, they take the cubes from the card that their boat is on. Fishing by net costs 1 action point, and fishing by hand costs half an action point. And fishing may only be done once per turn. The third action option is selling to the market. Selling to the market costs 1 action point if you're selling up to 2 seafood cubes to 2 market cards. And it costs half an action point to sell 1 cube to 1 market card. Selling to the market can only be done once per turn. Next, once per turn a player may choose the gain technology action. This 4th action option allows a player to choose one of these 3 things.
Increase their action points, increase their net quality,
or learn a special ability.
Learning a special ability costs Rio as well as 1 action point and gives players special abilities. A player may choose from either the client or the smokehouse. Increasing your net and your action points also costs an action point as well as Rio.
The last action option is flipping a market card. If a player wishes to flip the next market card, they may do so at the cost of 1 action point. And a player may flip a market card no matter where their boat is. They may also do this as many times as they can afford. So once a player has done all the actions that they want or can afford to do, they then will pass turn. When the turns get back to the start player, the next market card is flipped face up. Players' action points that they used are refreshed, and the start player again gets to choose if they want to take their turn and do actions, or if they want to pass. Eventually, a player will choose to pass and won't want to take any more actions, and they will choose to leave the round. That player will become the start player the next round. That player also gets to choose one of these 5 cards here.
These 5 cards are called Collaborators. Collaborators give players special bonuses each round depending on the card that the player chooses. For example, if a player chose the Money Changer, they would immediately gain 3 Rio. If a player chose the Dried Fish Shop, they would get to keep 2 extra seafood cubes at the end of the round. Players begin the game only able to hold 1 seafood cube at the end of the round, and even have to pay a 3 Rio penalty if they have more than what they can hold at the end of the round due to spoilage. Once all players have chosen to leave the round will end. When a round ends, first, all players who have more fish than they can hold have to pay the 3 Rio penalty. Next, the start player pawn is given to the new first player. Next, you move this round marker up and you remove all of the cards from the board. The cards are replaced in both the market and the fishing area, and new cubes are put out appropriately. Players would return their collaborator cards, and the start player gets to choose if they want to take their turn or pass. The game will play 5 rounds of this, and at the end of the 5th round, the player who has the most Rio is the winner. That's Isaribi.
So that was Isaribi. The game was a little difficult to get used to at first, but once players started to learn what the different action point costs were of each action, the game started to go a lot smoother. There were some things that I wish were a part of the game, including a player reference card that had a list of the actions and the action point cost for each of those actions, because I found myself flipping through the rulebook a lot just to remember what all the different action point costs were. I also wish that the rulebook had color-coded the different types of seafood, because if a player, for example, isn't used to what a prawn is, or for example a mackerel, they might have a little bit of difficulty during the setup as each type is only explained by name and not by color. Once you get used to what each of the seafood items are though, just like with the action point costs, as soon as you start to pick up what everything is, the game goes a lot smoother. While I wouldn't normally find myself enjoying pick up and deliver games, I thought this one was really delightful. I found the actions and mechanics really easy to follow. I like that there's a little bit of luck in the game when you have all of the cards put out into the fishing area and the market at random. And I'm also a really big sucker for Japanese themes, and with the art in this game that was just so beautiful, it totally drew me in. If Isaribi looks like a game that you might enjoy, you can keep your eye out for the Kickstarter that's coming from Eagle Gryphon Games soon, and there's more information about all of that in Eagle Gryphon Games down below. If you like this video and you'd like to see more of my videos, please like, share, and subscribe. You can find me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and the IndieGameReport.com. Thanks for watching. I'm Cassie Elle, signing out with Isaribi from Eagle Gryphon Games.